Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy, for nerds by nerds. Hang out with these nerds.
Nathan Nerdarchy.
Nerdarchy's dead.
And today, Nerdarchy picks our 3 favorite buff spells. Urgh.
Jump down the description below where you can sign up for Nerdarchy, the newsletter, get weekly gaming tips, as well as learn how to game with us.
So we've been kind of like playing around with D&D Beyond and the different filters and features. We've also been like kind of like working with doing different kinds of spell videos. You guys seem to be really interested in them, and they're fun to do. So we're like, well, what can we do with buff spells?
So we figured we'd each grab our top 3 buff spells in 5th edition. You're
We
more
did.
buff than I am.
Beefcake.
Yeah, how can we add some beefcake to these spells?
Alright, so how do we want to do this?
We could go round robin and everyone, say theirs and then, and why they chose it.
Alright, so I'm going to start off with, my impact spell. Some people say it's the best spell in the game, Haste. You're getting that extra attack, you're getting the buff to armor class. Yeah, it's concentration, but it's just fantastic.
You also get advantage on dexterity saves, and you also double your move speed. I actually use this for Uthengar a lot because, one, it ups my attacks. Being a Gish, I don't get as many as a regular fighter. It increases my armor class, which was a little bit deficient, so I could use that.
Yeah,
and it makes them faster because of the dwarf.
It sucks when you drop below that 23.
It's horrible. And the advantages on dexterity saves are really good for my dwarf with a 0 for dexterity and not one of his good saves.
And there was, of course, the battle where fireballs were going off all over the place. So definitely helpful there.
There's that as well.
All right, so what do you got?
So for me, I am going to go with Aid. It's a low-level spell. You can increase it as you pump it with spells. It affects 3 people at the same time. It is not a concentration spell. And it's just fantastic. And it also works with temporary hit points as well. So what does Aid do? It gives you an extra 5 hit points per spell level slot you use on it for 3 people. So that's not bad at all. But when I say extra 5 hit points, I mean extra 5 maximum in addition to having an extra 5. So what that means, it's not temporary hit points. It lasts 8 hours. So if you take damage, you can heal those extra hit points back up. If you take a short rest, only takes an hour or so, you can actually bring them back up. So you get to keep getting the benefit of that. It's literally like your maximum hit points is that much higher.
This is something that I've completely overlooked, and this is now going to be I cast this daily as my cleric.
And the added benefit of it being a pumpable effect is really great.
Yes.
Yeah, especially for a squishable character. Like going back to my character, although he's a fighter wizard, he is kind of squishy, and he's it's a good thing he has a high armor class. Like this would be really useful if he had maybe a cleric friend that would cast Aid on him at some point.
Yeah, but the cleric in that part is an elf, and you're a dwarf. He's
a great dwarf. That's where his dwarves go. Yeah, it's a spell I overlooked because I thought it was temporary hit points. So just little error in reading had sidelined that spell for my 14 levels of my character.
All right, so what do you got on your list?
All right, so I really like the Fairy Fire spell. It's a great low-level spell when you've got to get advantage on attacking people. So it does a 20-foot area, 20 by 20 area, and anybody in that, they make a save, and if they fail the save, everybody gets advantage on attacks against them, and their invisibility will fail. They'll be seen, and they radiate light. So pretty much, if you do that in the dark, it's like, all right, these are like targeting reticles on these people now. So it's really great because advantage when you're low level, advantage is really, really important.
Absolutely. All right, so you guys, going low. So I'm gonna have to pick a low level one, and I'm gonna pick one that I don't see used very often, and that's enhanceability. I think the biggest thing about this spell is its versatility. It is one spell with 6 options, and then it's pumpable. So as you cast it, the higher level you pump it, the more targets you get. So you've got to be like, oh, we're gonna go fight this creature that, oh, it's a dragon. It's gonna breathe on us, we really need dexterity, you know. So we're gonna bump that. Oh, we're gonna go fight some mind flayers. Well, let's get this bump to wisdom, and we'll be good.
It's like the Swiss Army knife of enhancing.
Indeed.
It's definitely better than the old editions where you had a spell for each ability stat.
Yes.
Now it's kind of like pick and choose. You can increase it. Good stuff.
All right. So what do you got as your number 2?
My number 2, I'm going low level again. Like literally, I'm almost tempted to change it because there's actually a cantrip that's an awesome buff, but it's only outside of combat, and that's well, not outside of combat, but for ability checks, and that's guidance. You can do it all the time. It lasts. That's a really good one. That's strong.
Okay.
For me, I'm into the armors, especially the spell armors that do not cost concentration as part of their duration. So anything that's got just a duration. And fire shield's really good because it gives you a resistance either to hot or cold. So you got fire or cold resistance, and it also does the opposite energy types damage whenever something hits you in combat.
Get out of my face.
Yeah, it gives them a little blast to keep them away, and it also protects you from cold and fire.
That's on Uthengar's list as well. Like if Ted ever gives me like, oh, you got 5 rounds of prepare for battle, like he's gonna be like mirror image, blinking, haste it, and fire shield.
Well, there was numerous times for that kind of setup in the last session. It's not my fault you decided to go to a party instead.
Son of a bitch.
We did have a lot of prep time in the past session. We needed it too.
All right, so my third choice, I'm gonna go back to that high level spell because it's not as versatile as enhance ability in its options of casting, but greater invisibility offers a number of choices in its actual use. Once you become invisible, you have the ability to get in and do espionage type stuff. You have the ability to use it in combat and have like supreme tactical advantage for positioning, and probably a multitude of other things that are not occurring to me at the moment. But it's just all around super spy spell. Absolutely love it.
It gets a lot of use in my Scarlet Sisterhood game. Megan likes casting that on Kenna all the time. So I like greater invisibility. My only issue is that it's a concentration spell.
Concentration spell. But it's really good.
Well, if you're invisible, then no one should be able to see you. You shouldn't be taking any damage. It's all good.
No, in theory, they can still attack you. They just have disadvantage.
I was having fun with it.
Yeah, ideally you shouldn't be taking this. You shouldn't be taking damage, and you shouldn't be making concentration checks.
Ideally. But you cannot be hasted and greater invisibility at the same time. That lies the problem.
That is. I don't have a problem with concentration stuff. I don't know. Relian tends to spend far too much time on the ground in your games. So concentration.
He's like, I concentrate on death saving throws. So I'm going to go with, for my final one, is Death Ward. Hands down.
Speaking of being on the ground.
Yeah, hands down. If he would have Death Ward on, he would not have to worry about it. Last 8 hours, and if something would outright kill you, reduces you to 1 hit point. If you get dropped, reduce you to 1 hit point. That's literally one, get out of death free card. That's good stuff. 4th level, nice. It's a nice use.
Stopping death effects is a big deal because no one likes to be disintegrated into ash.
Matter of fact, I feel like Circle of the Moon Druid should always be trying to figure out how to have this spell on them, because their greatest disadvantage is, if they get hit with disintegration or death word or what is it? Is it
Power word death?
Yeah, power word death or something or power word kill, or something like that. You don't get dropped out of your wild shape form. You just die. Like you just deal with the effect.
I think we're meshing like Finger of Death and
Yeah,
Power
yeah.
Word Kill together.
Yeah. Yep, that was it.
But anything that's got a death effect, it really helps save your bacon.
Oh, well, that's another thing. I think Finger of Death would be the same way, because you'd be just like, oh, no, you didn't actually die. You're just a zombie now.
So instead, you're like, I'm at 1 hit point.
And there's Beholder Raise to mimic those effects. So
yeah, so...
And we actually did have that come up in my game, that literally having Death Ward on the Circle of Moon Druid prevented him from becoming a zombie.
There was literally 2 characters, their lives were saved by having death wards on them in that game. They actually did die, but then we remember those spells were on them.
Yeah, because you cast them in the beginning and you don't remember them.
We had to roll back.
I should make tokens for it.
That would be an excellent idea.
Yeah. Could be like a +1 life.
And you get a death ward, and you get a death ward.
Maybe it'll be like
you get a death ward.
No, he only gives out 2.
Oh,
I could give out 4 technically, I think.
Well, no, you give out 2 and you cast 1 on yourself, and then
yeah.
you save the last spell slot for whatever it is you need.
Some other thing, yeah.
You just in case you could have been like, that could have been a death ward if I liked you better.
Speaking of last spell slot, I have chosen Armor of Agathos for mine, and it's a kind of a weak spell to begin with. It's 5 hit points temporary, but when someone strikes you, it'll do 5 damage to them of cold. But this is the thing, you can pump it up, and you can make it a higher level spell. So you could make it a 5th level spell, and you're dealing 25 damage of cold when they hit you, even if it's 4 damage. So I like the idea of combining that together. Oh, another thing is not concentration. And it lasts quite a long time. And the other aspect of that I really like is it gives you a reason to use Blade Ward, because if you do the Blade Ward combination, what you have is you're reducing the damage you take, you're still taking damage, so they're still taking damage, and they take the max that you did, that you
not how much you took,
not how much you take. So they could punch you for 1 damage in a brawl, and they're like 25 cold damage.
So you can literally, walk through a horde of, kobolds or goblins or
and they're just all ice statues after. Yeah, house cats, all statues, ice statues after that.
Nice.
But again, that's the pumpable effect. It only does 5 at the low level that it is.
Well, and again too, that's only like 12. It's still gonna be like 50 points worth of damage you're gonna be able to take, and then it goes away. But it's still kind of cool, and it stacks with aid, by the way.
Oh, nice.
So do we have any honorable mentions? Anything that
Yeah, I actually switched from guiding bolt to guidance, because I was like, guidance, you can just like do it over and over again. And I was thinking about my Scarlet Sisterhood game. They use it so much. I mean, it's only an extra die 4, but sometimes that's what you need. And as a cantrip, you can't go wrong. But guiding bolt as a first level cleric spell, you hit with it, you do 4 die 6 points of damage, not bad. But then the next attack on that enemy is at advantage.
That's pretty nice.
And it's also a pumpable spell.
I was looking at Shield of Faith, and it's a good spell. First level, gives +2 to AC, lasts 10 minutes. My caveat is it's concentration, and it's not pumpable.
I figured you was just going for a theme with the concentration.
if it would allow me to cast it at higher level spells to select more targets, I think it'd be definitely a great spell for clerics to put out there.
Now, we also left off some obvious ones like Wish because, well, it's cheating, and Foresight because it's such a high-level spell. Yeah. We wanted to go with things that were more functional and never going to actually really show up in our games.
Yeah. Well, I like the idea of Enlarge. It was cooler in other editions, but, for whatever purpose, I think it's cool that you can make yourself big and do a little extra damage.
Enlarge is one of those things that it's actually a dual-use spell, and that was my last honorable mention.
Oh.
And that's because not only can you use it for your aid, but it's also a debuff on the enemy.
Versatility.
Indeed.
So what do you guys think? What are your favorite buff spells? We got a place where you can tell us all about it. It's the comments. While you're down there, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
You can patronize us in a good way over on Patreon.
You can follow us over on Instagram.
So until next time,
stay nerdy.
Beefcake.
Yeah, how can we add some beefcake to these spells?
Alright, so how do we want to do this?
We could go round robin and everyone, say theirs and then, and why they chose it.
Alright, so I'm going to start off with, my impact spell. Some people say it's the best spell in the game, Haste. You're getting...
Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy, 4 nerds by nerds. Hang out with these nerds.
Nathan Nerdarch.
Nerdarch is dead.
And today, Nerdarchy picks our 3 favorite buff spells. Urgh.
Jump down the description below where you can sign up for Nerdarchy, the newsletter, get weekly gaming tips, as well as learn how to game with us.
So we've been kind of like playing around, use that.
Yeah,
and that makes him faster because he's a dwarf.
It sucks when you drop below that 23.
It's horrible. And the advantages on dexterity saves are really good for my dwarf with a 0 for dexterity and not one of his good saves.
And there was, of course, the battle where fireballs were going off. That extra attack, you're getting the buff to armor class. Yeah, it's concentration, but it's just fantastic.
You also get advantage on dexterity saves, and you also double your move speed. I actually use this for Uthengar a lot because, one, it ups my attacks. Being a Gish, I don't get as many as a regular fighter. It increases my armor class, which was a little bit deficient, so I can around with D&D Beyond and the different filters and features. We've also been kind of working with doing different kinds of spell videos. You guys seem to be really interested in them, and they're fun to do. So we're like, well, what can we do with buff spells?
So we figured we'd each grab our top 3 buff spells in 5th edition.